Hello everyone, my name is Ediya Francis Kwame and welcome to Ediya Pill. As we dive into the 7 holistic aspects of living, Ediya Pill started with a structured framework of the 7 aspects of living, and today we are considering mental recalibration, which is a main aspect of the 7 aspects of living. In the last episode, we confronted something very uncomfortable. We said you are either thinking as a victim or like a builder. But today, we expose a very deeper problem because many people decide they want to become builders, yet nothing in their life is actually changing, right? The question is why? Why do intelligent people still remain stuck? Why do capable people remain inconsistent? And why do people who pray, who fast for a better life keep on repeating the same thing year after year and over again? The answer is simple, but it is very brutal, right? Most people are not governed by systems. They are governed by emotions, and emotion is a very terrible leader. Let's tackle the real problem, right? Let's be honest with ourselves. Most people run their lives emotionally. They wake up and they ask one question: how do I feel today? If they feel motivated, then they work. If they feel tired, they postpone. If they feel inspired, then they start something new. If they feel discouraged, then they abandon what they started. So their life becomes a circle, right? They start, they stop, they restart, and then they quit year after year, repeating that same pattern. Not because they are incapable, but because emotions are unstable drivers. Builders understand something that most people don't, right? Progress cannot depend on how you feel. No. Progress must depend on how your life is structured. And you need to build routines so that you can properly structure your life. Think for a moment, right? Let me ask you something honestly. How many times have you said, I will start tomorrow, or I know what I should be doing, or I just feel I need to be more disciplined, but nothing changed, right? The problem is not discipline, the problem is design. Your life has not been designed with systems, and you need to intentionally design your life with systems, right? Because if you don't plan for your time, someone else will plan for your time, get you distracted, and follow what they planned for you. So this demands a very conscious effort on your part to properly structure and design your systems. Let's make this practical by bringing it into a real world scenario, right? Perhaps you are a student. An emotional student studies when exam is approaching, right? A system student studies week after week, perhaps lecture after lecture, or a day after a lecture they study. One is reacting to pressure while the other is preparing for mastery. 2, 3, 4, 5 years along their lines, and their results look very different. Not because they did not have preview to lectures, but because of how they developed systems and structures to keep them afresh, not when exam is just approaching. Perhaps you are a career professional. An emotional professional works hard when motivation is high, but a system professional builds routines, right? You need to be consistently learning, consistently networking, skill upgrading, performance tracking. You see, one hopes for promotion while the other is strategically positioning him or herself for it. At the end of the day, the one who is best positioned gets what he wants, because opportunity favors the best prepared. Even as you are working on something, you can continue to develop yourself. You upgrade your skills, because the current life we are living, right? You need to be very valuable, because technology is fastly eliminating humans. So you need to be very valuable. You need to develop yourself in a skill that is needed and useful, and that people can pay you for it. Perhaps you are a business-minded individual, right? An emotional entrepreneur works intensely when they feel inspired. Then when energy drops, it disappears. A system entrepreneur builds predictable routines, right? Daily outreach, weekly marketing, financial tracking, customer feedback. Business growth comes from consistency, not inspiration. And as always, consistency would always beat intensity. You need to start from where you are and work your way to clarity. Yes, sometimes you develop a vision and you plan to work according to plan, but you need to know that sometimes everything does not work according to plan. So there should always be a backup in place. Let's dive into the hidden cost of emotional living, right? Living emotionally creates four dangerous patterns, right? The first is inconsistency. Your effort fluctuates. When you feel motivated, you start. When you feel demotivated, then you stop. This creates inconsistency in your actions. The second is decision fatigue. You constantly debate what you should do, and you need to take a strong decision and you work on it, because nobody is coming to save you. Sometimes you have to act your way to clarity, not fully prepared, but as you go you gain clarity along the way. The third hidden cost is slow progress, because restarting wastes time. Anytime you restart on what you are to continue, you are just delaying and wasting time. The fourth is loss of confidence, right? Every unfinished commitment weakens your personal self-trust, and over time you start believing something dangerous, right? You start believing that you are not disciplined, you are not capable, and that is loss of self-confidence. The real problem is simpler: your life just lacks structure. So in the next framework we are going to deal with how to build structure. Let's reframe this the kingdom way, right? Because even in spiritual life, emotions cannot sustain growth. No. Many believers rely on spiritual feelings. They pray when they feel inspired, they read when they feel convicted, they fast when they are in crisis. But spiritual maturity grows through intentional patterns. Prayer becomes very powerful when it becomes consistent. So even if it is for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes a day, you need to be consistent with it. When you feel you will be distracted, once you wake up, then you do that. You find out that you have already prioritized it and you become consistent with it. Reflection becomes powerful when it becomes regular. So you need to schedule it, whether it's a daily reflection, whether a weekly reflection, you do it, because whatever doesn't get measured doesn't get improved. Builders of spiritual strength, right? They build spiritual systems of devotion. So personally, anytime when I wake up, my first 2 hours is blocked. No distraction, no phone. You do your devotion, you plan, you reflect, you meditate before the day begins, right? So that you will not get distracted during the day, because every day should have a target so that you don't walk aimlessly throughout the day. At the end of the day, you should learn something to better yourself. And then emotion only creates inspiration. So you just have to build system, you build routines, and you build structures. Let me now recommend to you Ediya Pill's builder system framework, right? Builders structure their lives around 5 systems, and these systems remove emotional interference. The first builder system of Ediya Pill is decision systems, right? Builders remove daily debates. So instead of deciding every day whether to act or not, you need to pre-decide, right? For example, you exercise every morning, you read 20 minutes every day, you track your spending, whether it is daily, whether it is monthly, whether it is weekly. The decision has already been made, because as I said, whatever doesn't get measured doesn't get improved. And when you decide before you take action, you find out that emotions no longer negotiate, because you have already decided and you wake up working on the decision, which eliminates time wastage. The second system of builders is time system. Yes, builders control their calendar, because if you don't control your time, your environment will control it. So many distractions happen day in, day out. even on our telephones, on our laptops. Sometimes you are redirected to sites that you never wanted. That is how the world is now becoming. So you need to build your calendar. You design things to make sure that your time is prioritized, right? Your environment would always control you when you have not structured your time. So you need to schedule your work, right? You need to schedule your learning, you need to schedule your reflection, and you need to rest, because unscheduled times become wasted time. The third system of builders is skills system. Yes, builders constantly upgrade their competence. In this current world, right, average is a sickness. Yes, because in the event of AI, technologies, automations, robotics, you cannot be average. You need to be very valuable in your area of competence. So instead of waiting for opportunity, builders prepare for the opportunity. So every month you ask yourself, what skill will make me more valuable? Because you see, skill compounds faster than motivation, and the best investment you can make is to invest in yourself. You invest in your skills. Francis, what skills should I invest in? I am an engineer, and every field determines the kind of skill you should invest in. Perhaps in an engineering field, you find out that programming, whether it is PLC, designing, software application, and then robotics controls, these are related to engineering. But if you want general skills which are very important in every field of specialty, like communication skills, you master how to communicate. These are skills that are needed in every field of endeavor. You master negotiation skills. Yes, you master sales, how to sell. You master marketing, how to promote, how to communicate. These are skills that are needed in every field of endeavor. The fourth system of builders is financial system. You see, money problems are rarely income problems. They are structural problems, right? Builders track their income, they track their spending, they track their saving, they track their investment, because emotions spends but systems steward. When it comes to financial system, right, when it comes to financial education, there are three main pillars of financial education. The first has to do with financial intelligence, the second has to do with financial planning, and the third has to do with financial discipline. So financial intelligence, you need to know assets, liability, you need to know income, you need to know annuity. These are money has a language, right? Because money hides in problems, money hides in people, money hides in opportunity. So you need to understand the language of money, and that involves financial intelligence. The second has to do with financial planning. So supposing, Francis, I call Lufthansa or Turkish airline that I want to fly to Germany tomorrow, they can never tell me the price of my ticket without asking me one question. Though they know my destination, they have to ask from where. So the first step to financial planning is to ascertain your current financial positioning, right? You have to know where you are starting from. So you know how much you are earning, your income, you know your expenses, whether you have more at the end of the month or you have less. This is how we mean by you budgeting, yes. And then the second has to do with determining your financial destination. So what do you want to become in 10 years, 15 years? How much wealth do you want to acquire or accumulate? Maybe I want to be a billionaire, maybe you want to be a millionaire. This is now knowing your financial destination. So in between your current financial position and your desired financial destination, the gap in between is called the wealth gap. So the third step when it comes to financial planning is to now choose a vehicle. And this is where believers most of the time we get it wrong. The kind of vehicle determines whether you get fast to your desired destination or not. And always, yes, normally we all start from salary, but you shouldn't end there. You shouldn't plant your whole life in someone's farm. No, personally I believe that everybody has a book within that you can produce. You understand? Francis, does that mean that I should quit my job? No, You don't need to quit your job if you don't have any savings, if you don't have a clear transitioning plan. And that birthed this book, Live Wealthy, Die Empty, right? This book tells you that there are 5 forms of education. We have the academic education, we have personal education, we have spiritual education, we have marketplace education, and we have financial education. You understand? So you need to master the language of money, and you need to choose the right vehicle. Start from salary, but that should only be a learning stage. Yes, not everybody can be an entrepreneur or have a business, right? But everybody can invest. Yes, everybody can become an investor in someone's business, and at the end of the day, they buy equity in it. So as the business is making money, you would also be making money. This is how we all start, because you need to start from somewhere. Nobody will believe in you if you don't take the step, and choosing the right vehicle determines how fast you get to your financial destination. And then the last step when it comes to financial education has to do with financial discipline. You need to understand and delay gratification, especially when you are starting with life, right? You need to know that every dollar, every cedi, every pound, every euro you spend now could have compounded in 30, 40 years to come. So you need to delay gratification. You don't need to show up, you show that you have reached there now. No, there is no need showing that me too, I am somebody. You don't need to prove to anybody that. So you delay gratification, especially when you are young and starting life. The last system that builders build is a reflection system. Builders review their life every day, every week, monthly, yearly, because whatever doesn't get measured doesn't get improved. So every week, right, builders ask what worked, what failed, what must I improve on, how can I do better. Did I achieve my target? Did I achieve my goal? Was I able to achieve what I planned to do? Because without reflection, right, mistake will repeat itself, because whatever doesn't get measured doesn't get improved. Builders always have a time to reflect, to know what worked, what didn't work, how can I improve on this, what worked strategically for me. Did I achieve my target? Did I achieve my goal? So that perhaps you can restructure on time. You don't wait longer to reflect. No, you can reflect. Perhaps you take 15 minutes of deep reflection, because these are how builders build systems. In the school of knowledge, we don't graduate. In the school of finance, we don't graduate. And in the school of life too, we don't graduate. Whenever you stop learning, that is when you start dying, because knowledge is progressive. Francis, what should I invest in? The best investment is to invest in yourself. Yes, you invest in your skills, you invest in your intellect. This pays the best dividends, it pays the best interest. So invest in your skills, whether it is learning a deep valuable skill in your field of endeavor. If you are an engineer, if you are an accountant, whatever skill of endeavor, you build your skills, you educate yourself, you go for mastery in your field by going for conferences, finding mentors, paying for tuition. Yes, this is how we get more knowledge and we get acquainted with the current issues of the world by becoming valuable in our field of endeavor. Let me recommend to you this week's Ediya Pill dosage, right? It is very simple. Choose one unstable area of your life. Maybe it can be studying, it can be your finance, it can be productivity, it can be your health, it can be spiritual discipline. You now replace emotion with a system, right? For example, instead of saying I will read when I feel like it, you create a system. I read 15 minutes every morning before touching my phone, because small systems, right, it change and create big future. Personally, as I shared with you, 2 hours of my early morning is blocked for self-reflection, blocked for study, blocked for devotion, blocked for learning. This is how you become intentional with your life, because destiny is time dependent. Whatever eats part of your time is eating your destiny. The unit of destiny is time. So you have to be very intentional with your time. Anything unplanned for it can be replanned, you understand? And you have to walk into the day with a target to achieve. You have to create a big goal so that you break those goals into long-term goals, medium-term goals, and then short-term goals. And the short-term goals every day should contribute to the achieving of your short-term goals, and then to your medium-term goals, and then to your long-term goals. Don't walk through a day without any aim. No, don't waste your time on unnecessary things, because the world is full of distraction. But make sure that you plan your day, you plan your time with a target to achieve. Whenever you plan and you achieve a target at the end of the day, you feel that your life is counting for yourself, and that feeling of achievement creates something in you that you know that everything you plan, you can achieve it. Let me now suggest to you the weekly self-governance audit. Ask yourself honestly this week, where is emotion governing my life? What system would remove that instability in my life? What behavior must become automatic? And what one system will I commit to for the next 30 days? Already said, you fall to the habits you build, right? You fall to your daily routines. You don't fall to your weakness. You need to fall to the systems you built. And we already recommended the systems that builders built, right? Victims wait for motivation, but builders build systems, because emotions fluctuate. When you feel motivated, you do it. When you feel demotivated, you postpone. No, but you need to set systems, right? Build systems that compound, because the future you create is the future you inhabit. And always remember, my name is Ediya Francis Kwame, and this is Ediya Pill, where we don't just grow, we transform and we live fulfilled. And at the end of this mental recalibration structure, you are going to transition from thinking like a victim to thinking like a builder. So embrace the holistic journey, and let's create the life that our now and future self will be thankful of and proud for. Ediya Pill, your dosage to holistic living. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in our next subsequent episodes. Bye for now.